everyone. Welcome to a special episode of Uncanny Treks. We are covering the DC Rebirth Supergirl series. Tonight, we are covering Supergirl Volume 1, Reign of the Cyborg Superman. That is the Supergirl Rebirth special and the first 6 issues of the Supergirl Rebirth series. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. Matt, how you doing this evening?
Doing great, Bob. Man, the title of this, quite nostalgic, is it not?
Yeah, it's two tastes that go great together, although in a weird way, it's just one taste because the Reign of the Superman does involve the Cyborg Superman. But yeah, it's Reign of the Cyborg Superman is Volume 1 of this trade. So that gave me quite the nostalgic tingle. Matt, this is written by Steve Orlando. Have you read anything by him?
Yeah, he wrote the Scarlet Witch series back in 2023. It came out around the time of the Wanda series. What was that called?
Agatha.
Ag-
Oh, the Doctor Strange 2 movie?
no, Bob. Wanda had her own series.
That's in 2019.
Oh, really?
Has no sense of time.
This is insane, Bob. Wow, I was under the impression that I was reading the Scarlet Witch series because I was excited about whatever that show was called. I'm referencing something that was a long time ago that I thought was yesterday. But the comic book I'm referring to did come out in 2023. I know that for sure.
Actually still going. It's been relaunched 3 times, but Orlando is still writing a Scarlet Witch.
Oh, okay. All I know is she opens a shop, and one of the characters from the show shows up.
Cat, maybe.
Cat, yeah, that one. She ends up being her assistant or something.
Did you read much of the series? I read the first issue, and something about it annoyed me, and I didn't keep going, although I've thought about, once the Orlando run on Scarlet Witch is done, I've thought about trying to read it all together and see if I enjoy it.
Probably read the first 4 or 5 issues. I couldn't get into it because I have feelings on magic, but I wanted to read something Marvel with Scarlet Witch, and this seemed like the thing to pick up at the time. We're not here to talk about Scarlet Witch, though. Witch.
Written by Steve Orlando. I really like Steve Orlando's stuff on Bitter and Apollo. Also, something we should maybe cover for the podcast. And then our artist on this Rebirth special is Emanuela Lupacino. And then, Matt, we have a major supporting character in this series that's Cameron Chase. Do you know her? There was a late 90s series about her. Did you ever read that?
Not a clue, Bob. Some of these supporting characters, I was lost on this. That's one thing I will give Supergirl this volume, is that I had to do a little bit at the beginning trying to figure out who was who and what the situation actually was without having any knowledge of New 52 Supergirl or any other prior Supergirl stuff. Other than Woman of Tomorrow.
Which comes after this, yeah. Cameron Chase is a character. She debuts in this 90s series called Chase. I like it, and it's J.H. Williams co-wrote it and did the art, if I remember correctly. So it's an interesting series. She basically is an X-Files type character for a government agency that supervises superhumans at the DEO, which she's still associated with in this. Over the course of the series, it unveils some backstory about her, that her father was a superhero in the 1950s, I believe, and palled around with Martian Manhunter, things like that. So it's an interesting series. She's shown up in J.H. Williams' Batwoman, and then I think in some ways she's become like Amanda Waller, that she shows up in a lot of other DC series in the 2010s and the 2020s as a supporting government authority figure. In a way, DC is done with Amanda Waller and Marvel has done with Nick Fury. This many appearances has diluted her and made me dislike her a little bit, if that makes sense.
When people show up all over the place, they do get diluted. Amanda Waller, she's everywhere. It's strange. That's one of the main characters you can remember from Justice League Unlimited.
I think I come at it from a different perspective. It makes me sad because Waller is great in the original Ostrander Suicide Squad. She's a well-drawn character. Really good interactions with Batman, with members of the Suicide Squad. And to dilute her over everything, right? And make her skinny, make her sexy, to soften her up, have complicated soap operas about her children and the Peacemaker show. It cheapens the character. There's a similar effect with Nick Fury, although I'm less attached to Nick Fury.
Oh, so you mean when they did the Nick Fury show, that invasion thing that was so bad, everyone forgot it? It's just been wiped out of continuity.
Oh, I didn't watch it.
I didn't either. No one did, Bob.
The only thing I saw from that Nick Fury show was that racists like to use it to meme when it was coming out. Saw a lot of racist memes from that show. It was ironic because it wasn't racist memes about Samuel L. Jackson. It was Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury in the meme saying racist things. We're in an odd moment of internet culture. Anyway, Cameron Chase is in this. Another bit of supporting characters we have in the Supergirl series are Supergirl's foster parents, who are secret agents who work with Cameron Chase. I forget the specifics of the CW Supergirl show, but I think this broadly fits with that. When I read this series close to when it came out, I took that for granted, and I didn't love it, but I didn't mind Supergirl having foster parents who were secret agents. I will say, Matt, in the interim, I've read a lot of Spider-Man, and I am triggered by Peter Parker's secret agent parents. It bothers me. So I will say that now having to experience Supergirl's secret agent foster parents in the wake of reading a lot about Peter Parker's secret agent parents, I'm a little more down on the whole thing.
Bob, I don't think this is going to be controversial, but the idea that Peter Parker's parents are secret agents is one of the stupidest plot points they have ever done in Spider-Man.
The only thing stupider than the idea itself is the fact that writers keep returning to it.
It's nothing interesting about that.
Let it die.
They even tried to bring that into the Andrew Garfield films, and you saw what happened to those.
That's funny. One other thing early in this comic, Matt, the Supergirl Rebirth special, is we do have a nice little callback to the 90s Supergirl, the Peter David Supergirl, the Matrix Supergirl, who I don't think we understood her then either, but that was the Supergirl we were introduced to as kids. And so Cameron...
She's goop. You punch her and she turns to goop, then she comes back to Supergirl.
Yeah, so Cameron Chase mentions a regeneration matrix, so nice little reference. Matt, my favorite panel in the Supergirl Rebirth special came on page 11. And we have a red kryptonite werewolf, which is a cool idea and a cool visual. I was happy with the red kryptonite werewolf, page 11.
I never really thought about the idea of Krypton having its own monsters that are unique in a way, but still similar in essence to ours.
This might go back to the Silver Age or the Bronze Age with Kryptonian werewolf. It's a cool idea.
They're triggered a different way than the way the werewolves here on Earth are. That's cool too. It's something completely different with the sun. I thought it was...
Another weird bit of continuity, and I'd forgotten this until Cameron Chase mentions it late in the book. Did you remember that New 52 Superman died?
No.
They kill New 52 Superman and they bring in post-crisis Superman. So Rebirth Superman is just post-crisis Superman exported over to the New 52 universe.
They literally deleted the New 52 file and updated the old version.
But only of Superman, weirdly.
It's very easy for readers to follow.
When we were first confronted with the title of this, Reign of the Cyborg Supermen, I thought of it as a nostalgic reference, but it's doing a little bit more work because this is directly following up on the death of New 52 Superman.
Wow.
So it's pretty clever.
That is rather clever, yes. How did he die? Do you know? Any clues? Any idea?
I read that 10 years ago, and I remember a thing. It involved Vandal Savage.
Oh, God.
It was a team-up. The final arc or so of New 52 Superman was like a team-up, if I remember right, between New 52 Superman and Post-Crisis Superman. And yeah, New 52 Superman, I think, sacrificed himself to save the world from Vandal Savage, something like that.
It says the death is caused by severe cellular poisoning and radiation exposure from multiple events, including exposure to the fire pits of Apocalypse, the kryptonite vault, and the energy of the sun god Raoul. See, I like in 1992, Bob, when he just got punched in the face a bunch by Doomsday.
That's also a terrible comic, even nostalgia.
Bob, it's nostalgia to my veins. I don't care.
As dumb as Death of Superman in the early 90s is, it's cleaner and it's more straightforward.
Yeah, you whip out your Death of Superman issues, Bob, and you turn on Rocky Eye of the Tiger and start reading, and trust me, you're going to enjoy the read.
It's a stupid fight comic in a fun way. Matt, what was your favorite panel in the Supergirl special?
Bob, my favorite panel was when we find out that Supergirl is going to have to attend National City Technical High School, and they make sure to paint the high school as your stereotypical high school by having an emo kid in the background really creepily judging Kara as she walks by. And Kara here is supposed to be this representation of Clark Kent. She now has dark hair, she wears glasses, and she's dropping her papers on the floor. She's a little bit clumsy like Clark used to be.
This, I think, is pretty similar to how they played Supergirl in the CW show, too, in Her Secret Identity, I believe. It's been quite a number of years since I've watched any of that show, but I think that's pretty similar.
And see, I'm like, oh, that show that just came out, and that show's been out for 5 years, right?
No, dog. That show's been out for 10 years plus.
This is a real problem.
Yeah, that show might have started in 2015, dog.
This is a real problem, bro. This is a real aging problem. You listeners out there, you're getting your comic book stuff here, but you're also getting your real life. Our brains, dog, they don't remember things that well.
I will say, Matt, I don't think my brain works that well, and I do struggle to locate things in time. But maybe because this is stuff I'm more broadly familiar with, because thinking about it to make the notes. Man, Matt's in such a worse shape than I am. My mind is aging gracefully compared to.
The thing with Bob, though, is he needs to remember that I'm much better if I have a timeline, which is why when we originally started this podcast, we were doing Babylon 5, I had notes all over my office space because I had to have their names written down. I had to have the timeline already out just so I could make sure that I'm not missing things because it just makes it easier. That's just how my brain works.
Side question, Matt. Side question.
Go ahead.
Do you think timelines are objectively helpful, or is it just the peculiar moment we went to school where they were really emphasized, and so we really go to timelines as help because of the schooling?
Oh my God, Bob. Why do you make me think about things like this? It's probably true. Probably also why I write only 5-paragraph essays.
You're fishing too. Matt, two other things about the Supergirl Rebirth special. So Supergirl is in National City. That's obviously a reference to DC's, one of its original names, I think, was National Publication. So that's a reference to that. And I don't think there was a National City before the CW Supergirl show. Maybe there was. I haven't read a lot of the 80s or the 70s Supergirl. Maybe National City was in one of those. But National City is the setting in the Supergirl show on CW. And in that show, as I recall, National City was more like a Los Angeles knockoff in the way that Gotham and Metropolis are New York City knockoffs. But in this comic, it seemed National City was more of a San Francisco knockoff. They talk about a fisherman's district in this issue, and I was already thinking SF knockoff. In the next issue, we see a lot of hills. So yeah, National City is just DC San Francisco, which is also interesting because there's another DC San Francisco knockoff, Gateway City, where Wonder Woman hangs out. So man, a lot of San Francisco clones in DC Comics.
What was Coast City supposed to be?
LA.
L-
Star City, where Green Arrow hangs out, is
Seattle.
I'm not sure. It might be Seattle, but it also might be LA or San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe even Portland.
What do all those places have in common, Bob? They're all liberal hubs, right?
There are periods, though, where Green Arrow is in Star City, and there are periods where he's in Seattle.
He did go to Seattle for that time when he wore a hood, so yeah.
They distinguish them in the comics because of that, but at the same time, you might still be right. Star City might be more of a Seattle knockoff than a San Francisco.
So, Bob, what I'm going to do, Bob, is here in Georgia, I wear a ball cap all the time. Next time I come visit you in Seattle, Bob, I'm going to start wearing a hood everywhere.
All right. You're going to have your Robin Hood.
You remember last time I visited you, Bob? What was it, like 3 or 4 years ago?
I believe that was close to 10 years ago, Matt.
No kid, I do know that. It was 2006. Significant events in my life I can remember. It's just when stuff comes out on TV, I can't.
Seeing Bob in Seattle is a significant event for you. That's cute. Have I told you the story about how I had to stop reading a Green Arrow comic because the Seattle reference was so stupid?
No, which one was it?
I think the DC Rebirth Green Arrow, and it got a lot of acclaim. Jeff Lemire wrote it, and Andre Sorrentino was the artist, and I like their stuff usually, but it takes Green Arrow back to Seattle, and there's a scene where the crime lords are dividing up the city, and one of them's got the docks. You get Chinatown. You get the downtown. And so they've split Seattle into 3, and Matt, those 3 areas, the docks, Chinatown, and the downtown, they're in at most a 10-block distance from
You took me there. I remember. That's hilarious. I can picture it.
We often call Chinatown up here the International District. There's a Chinatown part of it. There's a little Saigon part of it. There's a couple of other parts of it. So the International District is more commonly what we call it. But yeah, the main part of the ID is Chinatown, but there's other parts.
Maybe they were divvying it out in very small portions.
Who's my crime lord up here in North Seattle, Matt? That's who I want. Our cliffhanger, Matt, for the Rebirth special is we see a Kryptonian cyborg mummy, which is cool. I'd like that as a cliffhanger.
I've got no issue with that.
That moves
kind of like we saw the end of Moss today, Bob.
Let's not talk about Moss. Bob doesn't want to talk about Moss. So we're going to move on into the first issue of the main Supergirl Rebirth series. Now we have art by Brian Ching, who's going to be the artist for this whole arc. Matt, my favorite panel for the first issue was page 2728, and we know Steve Orlando is a Grant Morrison fanboy. We've seen Orlando make references to Morrison in a lot of different comics. Here we see him give an All-Star Superman style origin remake to Supergirl. And so that's cool. There's the famous page or 2 in All-Star Superman where you get Superman's origin, and I think it's 4 panels and 8 words, or maybe it's 5 panels and 10 words. You get something similar with Supergirl here. And you also get, as a bonus, Brian Ching drawing Supergirl flying over Io, which was a cool image.
That was my favorite as well. That image of Supergirl flying is poster worthy where she's over Io. And then in the corner, you've got the Supergirl, her name's stylized with the silver shine that looks so good. That's one of my favorites. I don't know what it is about that design. I like the chunky S that you see in the Christopher Reeves, and I like the Supergirl silverish across the.
My theory, and maybe this is obvious, but my theory is you like it because the font color and the font texture also reminds you of all the crystal Kryptonian technology in the Christopher Reeves movies.
You got it. That's exactly what it is. It's a bit nostalgia driven.
Speaking of Kryptonian technology, we get a nice little touch on page 29 of Kara Zor-El. Supergirl is put out by gas engines and internal combustion engines. They do not have those on Krypton. That was a nice little bit of environmentalist propaganda. I like that.
She's totally in San Francisco with these homes, the way they were drawn. Did you catch that she couldn't brake properly, so she just sticks her foot through the bottom of the car?
Flintstone style. It's pretty funny.
They didn't make a big deal out of it. That's why I was like, it was just meant to be slightly subtle.
As subtle as somebody putting their foot through the bottom of a car can be.
Exactly.
So, Matt, we have Kat Grant come in as a major part of the supporting cast in this, and she's also a major part of the CW Supergirl show. Did you know that, / were you surprised to see Kat Grant, speaking of 90s nostalgia?
I was not surprised. I knew she was, but I did not know this until the Supergirl show. Was that when that was introduced, that idea?
As far as I'm aware, yeah. Until then, she was just supporting character in Superman. And I think because they wanted Supergirl to have a female Perry White figure, they brought Kat Grant over. Also, they definitely did want to go for some Lois and Clark New Adventures of Superman nostalgia in the CW Supergirl show. That was part of it as well.
Which is also why they chose Callista Flockhart, Ally McBeal to play Kat in the show.
That's right. And as I recall, I can't remember the specifics, but it might have been a weird thing where they couldn't actually get Callista Flockhart for the whole show. So there's seasons where she's really important and then seasons where she's not in it at all. But I don't really remember how the CW Supergirl handled that.
Must have been how well Harrison Ford was doing.
I do like this idea, and I think this originates from the bad New 52 Supergirl series, where the idea is that Supergirl has a weird Kryptonian accent because unlike Superman, she grew up speaking Kryptonian in a Kryptonian culture, which is interesting. If you play up the Supergirl as immigrant story in a bit more authentic way than you can with Superman. And I find that funny. And you also have the funny, cute plot in this issue of Supergirl's foster parents are trying to learn Kryptonian to connect with their foster daughter, and they're bad at it. That makes me laugh.
I wish I could hear the accent. Does she have an accent in the show? Do you remember?
No.
Comics. I want to know what that actually sounds like.
It would be cool if they could actually pull it off in a show or a movie, but I suspect it would be terrible. So it's the type of thing best left for a comic.
I bet James Gunn tries it.
I think there's going to be too much else going on in Woman of Tomorrow. Maybe I'm wrong, but that would be my guess.
Yeah. One thing I do want to clog Bob, on page 33, we get this really cool image of Supergirl flying through a train. And there's a lady on the side who's like, girl. Those kind of images are straight out of the 90s comic books where you have the character fly out at you and someone just yelling. You know they love those. You don't see that as much in the Superman books now, I feel. But you see them all the time in the 90s. And also here they're referencing it.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you more often still see this with Spider-Man and Spider-Man. But I think you're right that it's fallen off for Superman and Supergirl. Matt, our cliffhanger for issue number 1 is that Cyborg Superman shows up and he claims to be Supergirl's father, Zor-El. So pretty big cliffhanger. That brings us into issue number 2 of Reign of the Cyborg Superman. I was just going to start with my favorite panel. This isn't the first look we get at Cyborg Superman, but on page 50, this is maybe the best look we get at him. And it's an interesting, different design for Cyborg Superman. Instead of it being that half and half look that we were familiar with from the 90s, it's that Cyborg Superman's jaw, his neck, his shoulders are mechanical. What did you think about that as a look?
Here's the thing. We find out very soon that this is actually a drone. So it's not the actual cyborg. But when I first saw it and was supposed to believe it was the cyborg, I was a little thrown off because the whole reasoning the original cyborg was split vertically was to distinguish that it was still Superman partially. Here, his face, the whole half of his face at the top, does not make sense if you were to say this was an evolution of Superman.
Because this is a different character, too. Because in the 90s, it's Reed Richards' knockoff Hank Henshaw, who is impersonating a resurrected Superman and is a cyborg. Whereas here, the Kryptonian who is cybernetic, who's claiming to be Zor-El, although you're right, in these scenes, later we're going to see a cyborg Superman, but in these scenes, it's a drone impersonating the guy who might be impersonating Kara Zor-El's father.
This is the same cyborg Superman from Reign of the Supermen, right? Reign of Superman. No, this is a different guy. Oh.
No, we're still in the New 52.
Oh, God. Okay, gotcha.
This gets confusing because the Superman in Rebirth is the post-crisis Superman who died and came back and was replaced. So that Superman has met a cyborg Superman, was Hank Henshaw.
Correct.
That was in a different universe.
Okay. Wow. My mind's just been blown. I just have to read this comic a completely different way because I just thought that Hank Henshaw was insane and just calling himself Zor-El or whatever. I thought his programming was messed up or something. And Supergirl gives that impression. Maybe I think they knew that when the reader was reading this, they would be like, okay, what?
I think this comic thinks that this is Zor-El, Kara Zor-El.
Now it reads a little differently to me. I mean, it doesn't read.
I think Orlando expects you to be skeptical of it the whole time, but by the time we get to the end, there's nothing that disproves he's her father.
Even Kara continues to question it.
The end of issue number 2, Matt, is we also have another return, and that's the return of Supergirl's mom, Alora, but she's in more or less a zombie mode, Matt.
She's pretty much a zombie. We've got zombies. And she's scary looking, and she has an army of zombies with her.
She does. That moves us into issue number 3 of Reign of the Cyborg Supermen, Matt. So we haven't talked about him yet, but we do have this character, Ben Rubel, who's a little bit supposed to be the Lois to Kara Zor-El's Clark, right? He's also a little bit Jimmy Olsen, because I don't know if you remember, but they did a African-American Jimmy Olsen in the CW Supergirl show they do in My Adventures with Superman. So he's a little bit supposed to be a Jimmy Olsen stand-in too. But they also tease him as almost like 21st century bouncing boy here early in issue number 3. That amused me.
Jimmy was on the CW show, and I was wondering if they were going to bring him into this, but you're right. That Ben Rubel character is just a stand-in for that relationship.
I don't know what all else they did with Jimmy Olsen on the CW Supergirl show because I only watched maybe 3 seasons of it. But do you know what superhero they made Jimmy Olsen in those first 3 seasons of the Supergirl show?
No, it's not that Turtle Boy dude, though, right?
That's a good guess. They did not make him Turtle Boy. They made him the Guardian.
Wow, all right.
It wasn't awful. It wasn't great either.
On page, we've got Cyborg Superman revealed, and you have the traditional Cyborg Superman look we were talking about, where he's split in half.
Yeah, my favorite panel, Matt, was on page 84, where we see Cyborg Superman be sad and disappointed in Kara. That was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
That's very good acting. He even has his hand on his chest to let you know he's got a heart.
What was your favorite?
Well, my favorite, Bob, was a few pages later when we have Supergirl's biological mother's cyborg zombie Husk carrying Supergirl's foster mother.
So our cliffhanger for issue number 3 is that Cyborg Superman is leading a cyborg fly Argonian army to threaten National City, Matt. I think that's how you would say, if you're talking about Argo City, I think you would call them Argonians.
Bob, what I love about the cliffhangers in these issues is that they keep escalating if you just read them. There's some cyborg there. The cyborg's alive. Next cliffhanger, Cyborg's resurrected his dead mom. Next thing, Cyborg's leading an army. You can see his escalation. To Steve Orlando's credit, it's simplistic in the way it's set up. It's not that complicated. I could see this being a decent animated film for Supergirl in the future.
Yeah, that leads us into issue number 4. We get another supporting character in issue number 4, Dr. Shea Veritas. Do you know that name or have any recognition of her? I only remember her dimly, but I think she's introduced in New 52 Superman as a supporting Professor Hamilton type character.
I have read that name before in a comic book. And that's about all I got.
My favorite panel in number 4 is we keep going with the Kryptonian Egyptian theme. So we have Cyborg Superman as imprisoned Supergirl in a Kryptonian sarcophagus. Then we see Supergirl bust out of that sarcophagus. That was a really cool image in issue number 4.
Well, my favorite panel is the actual cliffhanger where we have Cyborg Superman hovering over Supergirl's foster father. It's hilarious.
That takes us into issue number 5. My favorite art in this is on page 123. In some ways, it's more the dialogue than the art, but it's Cyborg Superman asking Supergirl, "Your mother died for an Earthling, and that pleases you?" That was very passive aggressive.
That's rough. My favorite panel in this issue is on page 127. It's when Supergirl sees that there's this shattering glass that's going to fall and land on some civilians. So she goes and makes this big tornado thing, and sucks in all the glass, and shoots the shards at Cyborg.
That leads us to, speaking of escalating cliffhangers, Matt, Argo City is about to crash into
Yeah.
National.
Oh,
Two
the
cities.
army didn't work, so I'll just bring the city down on everybody.
In a way, it's also, this is a reign of the Superman story, right? So it is Engine City menacing.
Destruction of a
right?
city. Yeah.
In the final part of this 7-part arc, Matt, really 6-part arc, because the Rebirth issue is something slightly different, but still 7 parts. In the final part, we have my favorite art in number 6 is on 138, and we see Supergirl attack Cyborg Superman's laser arm. I thought that was a really cool visual.
Yeah, that was cool, but Bob, it was not as cool as seeing Argo City just fall into the ocean. A whole city full of zombie Kryptonian people.
You thought it was going to be the new national city. Instead, it's going to be the new Atlantis, man.
Krypton Atlantis. Bob, you could write that. You can make money off that. You need to get that done.
But I would have to read a lot of Atlantis comic. I have to get some hazard pay from DC to...
Just throw in some magic stuff in there so they'll resurrect themselves down in the ocean.
I did have 2 points to bring up in this last issue for you. So in this issue, we get the idea that Wonder Woman, maybe this has been covered in other Wonder Woman comics that I either haven't read or don't remember, but this is a really cool idea. But Wonder Woman is a philosopher in the Greco-Roman mold, which makes sense. Philosophy is an important part of Greek and Roman society in the ancient world, right? So Wonder Woman has published a book of philosophical meditations that Cat Grant and Supergirl are talking about.
Reflections by Diana of Themyscira.
It's very similar to Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. I wish other comics would do more with that. Wonder Woman, the Greco-Roman philosopher.
Let me ask you this, Bob. What if someone didn't publish books like that from the perspective of these fictitious characters? Would you read those?
I would want them to get an actual philosopher to do it, but you could do something interesting. Most likely, if they did it, it would just be a New Age slop that they would just out, and it would be bland pablum.
Generic stuff.
Greco-Roman philosophy is interesting and beautiful, and taking it in a more feminist vein that Wonder Woman would do would also be interesting, because for the most part, there's some interesting exceptions, but for the most part, obviously Greco-Roman philosophy is pretty sexist. So it would be interesting to see that rehabilitated in that way.
I could dig this. This needs to happen. Somebody smart needs to write it, though.
On a philosophical point, Matt, and also on a point about being woke, am I being too woke that I think Kryptonians should be vegetarians? Is that too woke of me? To Earth food, so she's going to eat a lot of meat.
It should introduce you to the culture, not because they don't have to eat.
I didn't even think about that with the yellow sun energy.
It's not even sustenance.
Do you think this is a conspiracy that Cameron Chase is to get the foster parents to make Supergirl have an eating be more dependent? That our cliffhanger for issue number 6 and our cliffhanger for the trade Reign of the Cyborg Superman is that we have a Cyborg Superman imprisoned in what looks like a tank from Star Wars. And Supergirl is telling Cyborg Superman, imprisoned in this back-to-tank, that she's not giving up on him.
Not giving up on you, Cyborg Superman.
Any overall thoughts on this collection, Reign of the Cyborg Superman?
As someone who's not read a ton of Supergirl, I found the story to be entertaining. I could see them making a decent animated film out of this and it doing well. They're going to need to drop some stuff if they want this Supergirl James Gunn film to be successful. You got to have other stuff that people can go and watch. There are some adaptations on HBO Max of that older Superman, Supergirl stuff that dropped back.
We reviewed for the podcast the Legion of Superheroes movie that centered on Supergirl.
Yeah, Supergirl's going to be pretty big if this movie takes off. They need to have more content out there. This is definitely something I would have picked if I wanted something to read to go along with Supergirl after watching the film. This will be entertaining, but it's second to Woman of Tomorrow. If you're going to see the Millie Aycock film, read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, please.
I don't think this will have much to do with the Supergirl film. I picked it because this is, of recent Supergirl comics, this is the only one besides Woman of Tomorrow that I have a high opinion of, although I agree with you that this is no Woman.
I've been documenting all what I read because that will help me remember, Bob, keep my memory up there. Good. So I go back and I've been keeping a log, and when I go into it, I can see reviews that other people have posted, and they continually reference how this sort of revisits or rehashes a lot of what happens with Supergirl in the New 52.
And I want to just say, Matt, those people are stupid.
Okay, thank you. I haven't read any of this. I didn't know, and that probably added to my confusion.
I have read the New 52 Supergirl. It's been a long time, and my memories are hazy, but this is the same Supergirl as the New 52 Supergirl, right? And this is the new continuity. So the only baggage to this Rebirth Supergirl that we were discussing now is what happened in the New 52 series. That New 52 series is terrible. It goes through 4 different writers, some of the writers have done other good stuff. They go through completely different status quos. Every time the writer shifts, the status quo radically shifts. You have a story where Supergirl's a Red Lantern that's really bad. You have a story that had an interesting idea but didn't work, where I think it was a girl was in some sort of cosmic school for supervillains, I think was the plot. That didn't work. No, that New 52 series is awful. There's a reason we're not going back to it, Matt. There's a reason I just wanted us to do this Rebirth Supergirl. And I do think some of the character touches that this Supergirl has, Orlando did take from the New 52, especially the stuff about her Kryptonian accent and her being more culturally Kryptonian. That is in the New 52 Supergirl series. But Orlando refines it, does it much better here. And if you were going to say this series is a derivative of anything, it's much, much more derivative of the CW Supergirl show than the New 52 Supergirl, even though obviously it's the same Supergirl and there's some influence. I strongly disagree with these reviewers that you found. I'm glad you brought it up because it's an interesting point. Other thing, right quick, a New 52 Supergirl also got derailed 2 or 3 times by Superman crossovers as well.
You don't say. Crossovers hurt comic books? Really?
Shocking. I think it wouldn't have been good anyway, but certainly the crossovers did.
Bob, I have one personal gripe. Okay, just one personal gripe. I promise it. So, the number of blonde female characters in this book is too damn high. Okay,
Oh, you're right about that.
I can't distinguish between a lot of them. The art's great. That's not a knock on the artist. I have to remind myself who I'm looking at.
I had less trouble because it's Cameron Chase and Supergirl's mom and Cat Grant and Supergirl herself.
And her birth mom.
But they all tend to be wearing different outfits, which helps. But that said, no, you're right. There's too many blonde white women. That is something that is a slight problem with the series.
All right, Bob. We're going to hit Volume 2 next, correct? In Volume 2, I do know we do take a trip to the Phantom Zone.
Yep, Volume 2 is Escape from the Phantom Zone. It's a bit shorter. It's issues 7 through, I think, 11 of the Rebirth Supergirl series, and it's also Batgirl Annual 1. So nice crossover there. We will hit that for you next week. Please join us, listeners, on Uncanny Treks as we continue this short trek through the Steve Orlando Supergirl leading up to the Supergirl movie. I'm Bob in Cascadia. That's Matt in the Southland. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.